I don't have kids, but I remember when I was a kid and my parents would say, make a list of what you want for Christmas. And I would make a list like a mile long. And then my parents would have to come to me and say, okay, you can't have all of those things. So you have to pick what's most important to you. So when I was a kid and I had this long Christmas list of everything, then I had to go back and sit there and look at this list and say, man, I would really like this new Power Rangers toy. Oh man, this Toy Story poster is pretty damn cool. I don't know what the hell I was into. I know I liked Power Rangers. I know that. I liked wrestling. It was a lot of wrestling. I wanted the WWE Championship belt. I wanted the WWE ring. And then I had all the wrestlers. Or friends made fun of me, said I had dolls, but they were wrestlers. They were action figures.
Yeah.
But when I had this list, I had to have a list a mile long of all the things I wanted for Christmas. And my parents would come to me and say, okay, Justin, that's awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you have this long list, but you can't have all of these things. You can't have Kyle Pitts. You can't have Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase. So you have to decide, Justin, of this Christmas wish list that you have, what's most important to you. And if you're Joe Burrow, and you have this Christmas wish list, and Santa Claus is only going to give you one, it's not about what you want anymore. It's about what you need. And I started looking at all of my Christmas list wishes. And I'm like, man, I have the ring. It was a really cool wrestling ring, by the way. It even came with a little Titantron. And then it had pictures of the wrestlers. And when you push the button, the theme of the wrestler would play. It was really cool. But I remember, I had the ring. I had the Titantron. I got that as an early Christmas gift, but I really needed more. I didn't have the wrestlers for it. So I'm like, okay, cool. I wanted this bike. I wanted this Game Boy. I really wanted the Game Boy. The Pokemon and all that stuff. I really wanted the Pokemon game for a Game Boy. I really wanted a Game Boy. But I'm like, man, but I really want these wrestlers for this thing too. I have this cool ring. I have this Titantron. The ring was a case. So you opened it. You put all your wrestlers and the ropes and everything in there. It was so damn cool. I really wanted that. But I also wanted the Game Boy. I also wanted the games for the Game Boy, So there's a bunch of cool, a bike, everything. So I had to look at that list and say, okay, what are my needs versus my wants? And my needs became, I really need, these wrestlers for this cool little ring that I have. So I also need a bike to get to school. All my friends had bikes and they were riding their bike to school, and I was the only one that didn't have a bike. So I went from wanting wrestlers for my new ring, all right, and my new Titantron. It was so cool. I was so pumped. I really wanted a Game Boy. I really wanted the damn Game Boy. Remember they had Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow, which are so stupid because it was all the same damn game, and it just totally screwed parents out of money. I had the blue, the yellow, the red, and I couldn't figure out what the difference between any of the damn games was, to be honest with you. But the bottom line is this, is I can have a Christmas wish list, and I had to separate my needs versus my wants. And I needed a bike. I needed to get on my bike to head to school every day. I wanted the Game Boy. I wanted the Pokemon Blue, Yellow, and Red. I wanted the cool wrestlers for the wrestling ring. I wanted all that, but I needed a bike. So I got my bike. Mm-hmm. That's what's going on here. I keep seeing people in this comment section. Yeah, but Chase, they need Chase. He's going to be great. No. You want Chase. You don't need Chase. Because if you draft Chase with this offensive line, you don't have a quarterback to throw it to him. I mean, Brian Anderson, or whatever the hell his name is, the backup, Brandon Allen, he's really going to appreciate you drafting a receiver for him to throw to the last half of the season. But you don't need a receiver. This Brian Hetzel, he thinks he's so intelligent in here. He comes at me on every post. Everything I post, I ignore him, but I'm not ignoring him anymore. He's sitting here pulling this little, why would you draft Sewell? There's nowhere for him to play. I'm like, if you think that, can you imagine, by the way, so the Falcons are at number 4. Why would you draft Justin Fields? You have Matt Ryan. It's not about this coming up season. No one is drafting for this coming up season alone. You are drafting for the future, big picture. Why did you draft Joe Burrow? You had Andy Dalton. There, I could be dumb too. You see how that didn't make any sense? Why would you draft Sewell when you already have a right tackle? They just signed Reif to a 1-year deal. So you have Reif for 2021. You don't need Sewell. If you think it's that simple, I feel bad for you. Because if that's the case, then the Bengals shouldn't have drafted Joe Burrow last year because they had Andy Dalton. You see why this makes sense? I just don't get it. It's not about wants, it's about needs, and you don't need a receiver, you don't need a tight end, you need an offensive lineman. So there's that. And he goes, there's plenty of high-ranking offensive linemen in this draft as well, but no one is being talked about. If that's the case, then why is Sewell the only one anyone's talking about? I'm tired of hearing that. If they are as good as Sewell, we'd be saying, man, I think 4 tackles are going to be taken in the top 10. No, there's only 1 tackle being discussed taken in the top 10, and that's Penei Sewell. And you don't take a lesser offensive lineman to get a wide receiver. That just doesn't make any sense.
What do you think about if the Bengals trade back and they end up with Rashawn Slater from Northwestern?
Yeah, I mean, and it's Sewell and him. Those are the 2 biggest names offensive lineman wise. There's other serviceable, and I keep hearing this, and we talked about this the other day. Well, there's a lot of potential starters in the first 3 rounds. Okay, well, define a starter, because the Bengals have starters, and they're trying to replace them starters. Mm-hmm. So being graded as a starter doesn't mean anything to me. I want Penei Sewell do you want a guy who's being graded as a potential starter, or do you want a guy that's being graded as the next Anthony Munoz? And it's kind of funny how that still doesn't ring a bell with these Bengals fans as far as what's important. If you could trade back and get Slater and maybe get 2 offensive linemen in the first round, more power to you. But dropping back into the second and third just doesn't make any sense. I don't want to hear about, they need a receiver. They need a lot. That's why they only won 5, 6, whatever games. That's why they're picking in the top 5 for the second year in a row. That's why they're in last place. Yes, I know they have a lot of needs, but you have to prioritize those needs. Offensive line. Easy.
For sure.
All right. It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash. So I'm tired of talking about the team that doesn't know how to, with fans who don't understand the importance of this. So let's talk about a team that actually knows what they're doing. Let's talk about a team that had needs and they addressed every single one of them. Let's talk about a team that is about to win the AFC North in 2020. We're going to step away for a few minutes and we're going to talk about them damn Cleveland Browns because, he's overrated. No sacks last year. He's a bum. The Cleveland Browns are winning the AFC North. We'll discuss when we come back. Enough of this Bengals stuff. Let's talk about a team that actually knows how to build a roster. Let's talk about a team that knows how to win games and make the playoffs and win in the playoffs. I can't believe I'm saying this. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns, baby. We'll be back in a moment.